Hello, and welcome to the truth seekers that have joined us today from around the world. I'm glad that you've joined this online community. For the next hour, I want to help you uncover new ideas that will push you towards new thinking inside and outside of your business. My name is Mark McKelsey, and I lead the people and the projects that bring you education, trends, and next practices from Global Market Development Center. This Infocast will make your lunch hour profitable by demonstrating just how the curiosity and the power of the consumer must be at the center of your strategy. In other words, the way you've done things in the past is not the way that your future success will happen. Retailers and brands more than ever must be adaptive and in constant flux in order to connect with customers. So, how you respond to today's session is important. Without further ado, let's jump into it. I'm coming to you live from Colorado Springs and have Andrea Leigh joining me from Ideoclick in Seattle. Ideoclick is a strategic partner with GMDC, as its co-founder, Tom Furphy, is featured regularly in our podcast with Kevin Coop through our Retail Tomorrow initiative. The title of this session is Auto Replenishment and Subscriptions and How They Are Impacting the Future of Retail. And hybrid selling on Amazon. Today's Infocast is going to help you find the so what behind various strategies if you're selling on Amazon. With an estimated 100 million Prime members and 55% of all product searches now originating on Amazon, what does the new world look like for brand owners and manufacturers, and how does Amazon's options fit with your company goals as you sell through brick and mortar? For our suppliers watching, you may find yourself in a unique arrangement with Amazon where you're selling a portion of SKUs directly while the remainder on Marketplace. While Amazon's merchandising teams are often selective about SKUs that they decide to carry on 1P, the numbers need to make sense for you. And for our retailers who are watching, this is a great education for you on the selling opportunities for all sizes and shapes of brands available to your partners. For products that have a consistent set and wide range of products on Amazon, the platform can work really well for you. If you're a smaller company, you need to take a very close look at the choices available, and which is really what you're going to learn about today. So with that said, I'd like to welcome Andrea. And Andrea, since I botched up the title of this, could you just repeat that for our viewers today in regards to what they're going to learn so that we can get this right? Thank you.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk about hybrid selling on Amazon. So we'll talk about how hybrid strategies can help you capture more sales on Amazon and help you grow your business. We'll also talk a little bit about why it's important to have these counter strategies to the Amazon retail relationship. And then lastly, we'll talk about how proper planning and strategy are critical for a successful execution.
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to it, Andrea. So before we get started and dive in, I'd like to remind our viewers that we can take questions during or after the session by using the Q&A button at the top of your screen. We'll get to those at the end of the hour. So let's get started. Back over to you, Andrea.
Great. Let me set up my screen share here. All right, can everyone see everything all right? Great. Well, we will go ahead and get started. So today we're going to talk about how to navigate some of Amazon's evolving selling models. I just came yesterday from the Hackathon conference here in Seattle. The Hackathon conference is a conference that brings together a number of service providers in the space, a very authoritative group of service providers, and presents a number of topics to manufacturers selling on Amazon. And the big topic and the big question that all manufacturers were asking us about was around hybrid selling and should they do it, and if they should, how should they do it, and why should they do it, and what does it mean? And there were a lot of questions. So I'm assuming those questions will be present in this audience today, and that's why you're here. So we'll spend some time talking about all of those things today. The first thing I want to mention is kind of a disclaimer, which is that everything that we're going to talk about today is true today and might not be true in 6 months. I found that every time I've given this, particularly this presentation, because it's a very evolving space, things are changing really quickly. The world is moving underneath us, and Amazon is changing its strategies and policies on a regular basis. So it's important to kind of make sure that you stay current on the happenings and current on Amazon's policies. So first, I'll introduce myself, tell you a little bit about me if you're not familiar with me and haven't attended one of these Infocasts before. Then we'll talk a little bit about what hybrid selling is and why you should do it. We'll talk about the pros and cons of the model. We'll talk about if Amazon has the ability to stop you, and then we'll tell you how to get started and some of the common pitfalls. So first, just a little bit about me. I'm the Vice President of Client Services here at Ideoclick. We are a managed services provider. I'll tell you a little bit about us in a minute. I have been here for a while now. I lead our catalog, content writing, and account management and advisory practices. Prior to my time here, I spent 2.5 years running my own brand consultancy, helping manufacturers with their Amazon strategy. And before that, I spent 10 years at Amazon as a category leader, working across a variety of different categories, but some highlights included the grocery category, back in the early days in particular, helping launch it, helping launch grocery third party, and helping launch grocery FBA, Amazon Fresh, baby category, and then about 15 other product categories in my time there. So just a little bit about our firm. We are a full service agency that supports brand selling on Amazon. We offer marketing optimization and content optimization, software-driven marketing execution through AMS, catalog and item data management, advisory consulting. We also offer hybrid selling support. Nearly all of our 200 clients are selling hybrid on Amazon, and reporting and analytics. Just a little more about us. This is our leadership team. One of our claims to fame is that we have approximately 100 years of collective former Amazon experience across the whole team. So lots of deep expertise here. And as Mark mentioned, our co-founder, Tom Furphy, was the former vice president of consumables at Amazon and launched Amazon Fresh. So let's get right into it. What is hybrid selling? So a few trends to think about kind of as we kick off. First of all, we all know that most product searches are happening on Amazon right now, and customers are coming to Amazon and researching. So it's important to be there. And more and more manufacturers are finding that having a retail relationship with Amazon does not always guarantee that you will be there. You have to have Prime to win sales. It obviously varies a lot by category. You know, we're finding that having that Prime badge is less important in some of the big and bulky categories, such as furniture, where customers maybe aren't expecting it. But across the majority of Amazon's categories, it's critical to have that Prime badge. The conversion rate for products drops significantly without that Prime badge. So if a customer doesn't think they can get 2-day shipping, they're a lot less likely to buy. And I think we all have seen a lot of data around Amazon's Prime program and how it's about 80% of their customers and shipments, and it's important to be a part of that program. Another trend to think about is that Amazon's retail crap rules are getting a lot stricter, and they're coming down a lot harder on manufacturers. If you're not familiar with the term or the acronym CRAP, it means can't realize a profit, and it's Amazon's term, it's not my term. And it definitely inhibits growth of items on Amazon, as Amazon won't carry items that don't make enough money for them. And that status can change and be dynamic, but generally speaking, Amazon's getting stricter about profit, which makes it harder for manufacturers to have their whole assortment available on Amazon. And then lastly, this is kind of a space that's changing really quickly. Amazon's category teams are paying a lot of attention to what manufacturers are doing on Amazon. It's again varying a lot by category, and a lot of their sort of reaction and policies are really being very inconsistently applied right now. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. So first, what is hybrid selling? Hybrid selling is defined as selling on Amazon via 2 or more channels. So by channels, I mean the retail direct, selling product directly to Amazon where they buy it from you and inventory it, selling as a third-party seller, either through the Fulfilled by Amazon program or as a seller who ships product themselves to consumers. There are about 8 or 10 different fulfillment models on Amazon. Several of them are Amazon owns the inventory or Amazon is the seller of record, and there are a few where the merchant or the seller is the seller of record. But hybrid selling means selling on Amazon more than one way. So let's talk about those different ways. So on the left, we have all of the fulfillment models where Amazon gets to set the pricing and choose the assortment. On the right, we have the fulfillment models where Amazon gets, or where the seller gets to do that. So this can kind of help you give like an overview and compare sort of the different fulfillment models. And we always get the question, what are the best fulfillment models? And the answer is it totally depends on the economics of your products and of the size of the products and the velocity of the products. Generally speaking, however, the Fulfilled by Amazon program is most profitable for sellers for products that are small in size and have high retail selling prices, generally speaking. It's a little bit tougher for products that are large in size and are heavy. So across all of the Amazon sort of controlled mechanisms, even selling within two of these can be considered a hybrid selling relationship. So you're selling directly to Amazon and you also have a dropship relationship, or perhaps you are selling your 100% drop ship on Amazon, but you also will occasionally ship through your merchant account. So these are kind of the main different models that we're talking about today. And hybrid selling is selling across either one or more of these, essentially. So let's talk about why you might want to sell hybrid. I think the first reason is that it typically drives higher sales for manufacturers. So this graph attempts to show you what essentially your gross product demand would be on Amazon, and that's the top line, kind of going up and to the right. As we all know, Amazon struggles to keep all products in stock all the time. That's one of the challenges of having Earth's largest assortment. So the actual demand is throttled quite a bit by products not being in stock. And so you can see that line kind of underneath, down below. Also, after products are shipping on Amazon for some period of time, Amazon starts to discover, or their systems start to discover, the profitability. They're able to gather enough data to understand their item level economics. And for those who aren't super familiar with the CRAP program and what that means, Amazon's perspective is that every item is its own P&L, and every item has to stand on its own from a profitability perspective. So as you can see by this graph, your natural demand or your gross product demand would be up here. But after you sort of discount that demand based on Amazon struggling to keep products in stock, particularly new items that don't have a lot of history, but also just items in general. And then you look at the demand that's throttled by Amazon either not carrying some of the products anymore, or suppressing the buy box for those products, or pulsing them in and out because they're unprofitable. You're left with this sort of lower sales line, which is obviously less attractive. And that whole gap between those lines is captured by third-party sellers for the most part. So while you're not in stock in your retail relationship with Amazon, or the item is crapped out, third-party sellers are there on the platform, as I'm sure we're all aware, and they are capturing those sales, and that's the size of the opportunity. So there are a lot of products that struggle in Amazon's retail channel. So, and some of the things that make a product struggle are typically around the economics of, these all relate to the economics of the products. So, anything that has a really challenging supply chain, a high standard deviation in terms of the lead time, things that are seasonal, fashion products, anything that Amazon has trouble forecasting is going to struggle in that gap between those two lines, the gross product demand and sort of the net product demand is going to be larger. Anything that that Amazon struggles to ship out carefully enough. Think about tabletop and items that have high damage rates, or that maybe they struggle to package properly to send out to consumers. a big topic of conversation at our conference yesterday, talking with manufacturers, was around new items and how to get Amazon to order enough of them. Amazon is a very algorithmically driven platform. If you have a new item, it doesn't have any data associated with it. Amazon systems use data. They don't use humans to place orders. So getting new things off the ground can sometimes take 6, 9, 12 months. So those are products that struggle initially in the retail channel. And then obviously any products that are crap or can't realize a profit. So let's talk a little bit about what the incremental growth looks like. And this is a particular case study from an example client, but most of our clients' sales graphs look like this. So you can see kind of down on the left here, these are their sales graphs, and the purple line or the dark purple line are the total sales. They're still doing the lion's share of their business through their retail business. However, we were able to launch an FBA account for this client back in late 2015, early 2016. And as you can see, both ships rise. And a lot of clients and manufacturers ask why this is. Amazon, their forecasts are dependent on data. And the data that they gather is data around product, detail page glance views, traffic to the pages, consumer interest, and sales ultimately. And if there's no item to buy, if there's no inventory on the item, their system cannot continue to capture data. So even if Amazon does, in this case, Amazon was doing a pretty good job keeping this manufacturer in stock. For those of you who have retail businesses with Amazon, their fast track in stock rate was, it was upwards of 85%, which is pretty good for the category they were in. So you can see that even though they were doing pretty well from an in-stock perspective, Amazon was still out of stock some of the time, and that in this case represented about 15% of the client's business, which was incremental growth. Now, the reason that it kind of shoots up into the right here is that when they're out of stock, kind of going back to the data piece, when Amazon's out of stock in their retail business, this seller was not only this manufacturer was not only able to capture the sales through their FBA account, but the FBA sales and Amazon capturing that data made the retail forecasts better. So it's kind of a win-win across both situations. And this case study was specific to FBA and retail. Now, this is not an uncomplicated model to run. So let's talk a little bit about some of the big benefits and some of the complications of hybrid selling. So obviously one benefit is incremental sales growth, and we've covered that and the opportunity there. That opportunity varies widely in size based on how good of a job Amazon does keeping your products in stock, especially for some new manufacturers on Amazon. It's really hard. Amazon's forecasting system might order a few cases the first week, sell out of those really quickly, order a few more cases the next week, and it's definitely, we call it a crawl, walk, run launch period on Amazon. So there's a lot of incremental sales growth just to being in stock and having products available that maybe Amazon doesn't want to carry anymore, such as crab. Secondly, another benefit is that you're able to set retail prices. So manufacturers can set retail prices for products, and they can decide how much inventory to have there. And that's becoming more and more important for a lot of manufacturers that we work with, particularly as they are figuring out their channel strategy and what assortment they're going to offer to which retailer, et cetera. And definitely a big theme we're hearing lately is just with now e-com being such a large percentage of these manufacturers' businesses and such a large percentage of retail in general, that the pricing compression has been pretty incredible. Now everyone can see what everyone is pricing, and everyone tries to match everyone else. And so trying to get some control over that and bring that back up is a priority for a lot of clients that we talk to. We talked about how hybrid selling can make Amazon's retail forecasts better. So having any kind of offer, we talked about all the different types of ways you can engage with Amazon. Having any kind of offer on the site that has inventory behind it will make the retail forecast better. It also gives you some opportunity as it relates to Amazon's crap out program. And I have a case study, I think in a little bit, that we'll walk through about a manufacturer who had a lot of products crapped out of Amazon's retail platform and had an opportunity to potentially sell those through a different channel. And then lastly, having a seller account on Amazon is the Seller Central is the platform that manufacturers use to sell on Amazon direct, as their own seller. And it's a superior platform to Vendor Central because you're your own retailer. Amazon gives you access to different data, which is really useful, such as product detail page glance view data, conversion data, subscribe and save penetration rates. So there's some really cool stuff there. And it might be, I usually get a question around this time around, are there any programs or features that are exclusive to Amazon's retail channel? A lot of times the retail team might tell manufacturers that that the sales velocity is higher in the retail channel because there are more programs. No, there aren't more programs. There aren't a ton of differences in terms of what you can do from a marketing perspective, in terms of what you can do from a promotional perspective. There are some slight nuances, but Amazon's worked really hard over the last few years to accomplish what they've called third-party parity, which means that most deal types you can run in retail, you can also run as a third-party seller. Almost the entire inventory of advertising is available across the retail platform and third-party as well. So let's talk about some of the complications of hybrid selling. And there are many complications. These are some of the ones that tend to bubble up to the top. So the first one is that depending on the different platform you're working on, the economics can be completely different. For example, if you are a furniture manufacturer and you're selling through Amazon's retail channel, getting that product to Amazon's expensive. And so you might have to pay a lot in terms of a freight allowance. Maybe the damages are high because Amazon isn't as good at shipping out that product as you might be. On the flip side, if you're shipping it directly from your facility to consumers, you have a different economic structure in doing so. And so, the economics vary widely, and sometimes even within the same manufacturer can vary widely depending on the type of product. It's just a matter of the size, the shipping cost, the weight, how much space in the fulfillment center is this taking up for Amazon, because their fees for, at least for the Fulfilled by Amazon program, are all related to space and weight and shipping costs. The second complication, and it's kind of more of a pitfall, which we'll talk about later, is a lot of manufacturers think that by setting up a seller account, it will solve some of the pricing challenges they have on Amazon. So let's say Amazon's pricing your product really aggressively and price matching everyone, and you're not happy about that. So you decide you're not going to sell it to Amazon directly anymore. Instead, you're going to keep it to yourself, and you're going to sell it through your third-party seller account. And one of the challenges with that is that you won't win if your channel is dirty and there's a lot of product out there at a lot of lower prices. You won't win what's called the Amazon buy box. So probably everyone's seen this shopping Amazon. On the right side, there'll be a box structure where it gives a merchant that's essentially the one that you would buy from, and then below there's a number of other merchants listed. So if you're not the one that's priced aggressively, you will not be winning the buy box. So it doesn't solve any challenges that you may have with having a dirty channel. There is some relationship risk with Amazon in doing this and having multiple fulfillment models. It depends on the two fulfillment models that you're choosing, the dynamics of your category, the dynamics of your relationship. There's a lot to consider there, but there could be some relationship risk. So it might not make sense to discuss this kind of in your early stages with your Amazon team. You might want to come up with your strategy on your own and sort of approach it that way. And then lastly, since you're dealing with two different platforms, you've got two businesses. So you have to deal with the concept of two portals, two different sets of reporting, and kind of trying to combine all of that together can be challenging for manufacturers. So let's talk about a case study really quickly here. So this is a furniture brand on Amazon. Sometime last year, this furniture brand, we'll call them Furniture Brand A, the furniture category on Amazon is going through some real overhaul. It was one of the smallest categories for a long time. They were really trying to drive growth and trying to, accomplish a similar level of inventory and brand representation that Wayfair has. So added a lot of assortment really quickly, grew the category really fast, and then likely realized how exposed they were in terms of profit and profitability. Because what was really doing well on Amazon is like the entry price point flat pack furniture. So it's a challenging space to be in. So according to some of the manufacturers we've worked with, Amazon's retail team came back to all of them and said, or came back to some of them and said, we're not making money on these products, and so we need to crap them out and stop ordering them. So in this case, this manufacturer was only selling product directly to Amazon. And Amazon turned off half of their assortment, including a lot of the best-selling items, and requested about $1 million in funding from this furniture manufacturer in order to, to keep the products on the site and continue to carry them into the next year. Well, that puts this manufacturer in a really tough position because Amazon has all of the cards, right? Like they don't have another means to sell product on Amazon. They didn't have their drop ship business really up and running to sell, to have other fulfillment capabilities. Obviously, this was all due to freight, and they didn't have a third-party seller account, and so their hands were really tied. And this manufacturer chose not to give Amazon the funding, and in doing so, really kind of their business tanked when sales went almost to zero, and they had to figure out how to regroup and how to reset the business. Now, a lot of this is not necessarily avoidable. It's the evolution of the category on Amazon, and I'm sure a lot of manufacturers on the call have been stuck in the throes of the evolution of whatever category you're in, and Amazon's shifting the focus from growth to profit. But in this case, they didn't have any sort of like backup plan. And so this is a great example of where having had a really strong dropship presence or merchant filled presence or something would have really protected this manufacturer from all these lost sales. And it takes a long time to get back on track. After your sales go to zero, you've got to really rebuild some of that inventory, reinvest in items that are more profitable, and kind of just you're really doing a big reset on your business. So this question we get a lot: can Amazon stop me? Can they say, no, manufacturer, you can't sell as a insert whatever alternate fulfillment model you're considering? Can Amazon stop me from selling retail and FBA? Can Amazon stop me from having my own seller account? Can Amazon stop me from, being a dropship manufacturer? The answer really depends, but I think it's probably a good idea to talk about MOA, which is the Manufacturer on Amazon policy. And this is live from their site as of this morning. This language tends to change every time I go to the site, as do our manufacturer conversations with Amazon. But Amazon's official position on Manufacturer on Amazon is, this language is specific to manufacturers who sell products directly to Amazon and who also act as a seller. And, we talked about how there's a lot of different fulfillment models on Amazon. This one's specific to being a retail vendor and being a seller. And it says, to prevent customer confusion, if any of the brand's products are sold by Amazon, the brand may not also sell those products as a seller in the Amazon store. And so this is Amazon's official position. We're seeing really mixed enforcement of this official position. But what this does mean is that there is a clear set of what's okay and what's not okay. And I'm gonna walk you through what it is. So what's okay is providing backup inventory support for your items on Amazon. So Amazon runs out, Amazon doesn't order enough of a new product, providing backup inventory support in some way, whether it's through dropship or vendor flex or, possibly a seller account is still pretty okay. Our manufacturers that are doing that do not seem to be falling out of Amazon's good graces. It's also okay to sell crap items in another, by another means. And this is pretty clearly outlined in their policy, because those are items Amazon doesn't want. They're not selling them anymore. And so there's an opportunity to sell some of those items in another, by another fulfillment model. And likewise, any other items Amazon doesn't want. So, you know, if you're a manufacturer of patio seat cushions and you have like an infinite assortment and Amazon doesn't want to stock all of that, it's okay to provide all of that via dropship or a seller account or whatever. Now let's talk about what's not okay, because this is what's going to get you into trouble. This is what's going to get Amazon upset. This is what's going to maybe get your seller account turned off or create some real problems for your retail negotiations. So by using any other fulfillment model to attempt to manipulate Amazon's retail pricing, and this might not be super clear how this can happen to everyone on the phone, but if Amazon is priced super high and, you know, this manufacturer lists their products on the third-party platform at a really low price to try to drive Amazon's price down, or you try to compete for the buy box with Amazon, that's a really great way to get yourself flagged and to get yourself into some trouble. That's against their policies, and it's definitely going to show up in someone's report, and it's not okay. It's not in the best interest of Amazon or really you in the long term or the customer. And then the other thing that is not that's not okay is if you're selling a lot of certain products directly to Walmart, Target, insert any other Amazon main competitor in that slot, and you're not offering it to Amazon directly, but you are selling it in your seller account, that's not okay. That's definitely against the manufacturer on Amazon policy. And, you know, we've definitely seen manufacturers be able to do that for a while, but, you know, in time, that's not going to be a sustainable strategy for you. I just saw a bunch of questions come in on that one. So we'll make sure we allow some time to talk about that. So getting started. So what do you need to do to launch a new fulfillment model? Well, it really depends a lot on the fulfillment model that you're choosing, but here are some things that I would keep in mind. So first, spend a lot of time on the strategy and strategizing portion of this timeline. So you want to figure out really what are your pain points, what are you trying to solve, what are your internal fulfillment capabilities, can you ship product directly to customers, can you ship small shipments to Amazon? Maybe you're a manufacturer who typically is sending truckloads, and trying to send them, you know, 5 cases of every item is really going to break your supply chain. So just really spending a lot of time in that strategy phase, figuring out, you know, what are the goals, what are the pain points, and what are your capabilities. And then also in that strategy phase, and this is something every manufacturer should be doing all the time, is just work on cleaning up your channel. If you have a dirty channel and you have prices all over the place and lots of sellers, and then you go become a seller or, you know, try to list your products in some other way on Amazon, you know, you're not going to be successful. So figuring out how to get a cleaner channel before you engage in that. Run your economics, figure out this is kind of goes into the pitfall section, but we have manufacturers come to us all the time who say, hey, I launched a seller account last year. I need some help because I'm losing money on my seller account. And it's important to run the economics. Amazon provides some free tools to allow you to do that. And then take some time to figure out how you're going to handle some of the tax and accounting for if you're used to being a direct retail vendor on Amazon and now you are trying to become a seller. It's they're different accounting. I'm not an accountant, but they're different accounting strategies, because now you still own the inventory up until the sale to the end customer. Then I would spend some time on an assortment plan, figure out what you're gonna sell. Are you looking for some complementary assortment that Amazon won't carry? Are you trying to double up so that you can make sure you have product in stock? Is it crap? Like, what is it? What are you going to sell? And how are you going to price it? And then after you've spent all of the time doing that, you'll want to open your seller account, create items, load inventory, and then make sure you're aligning your marketing campaigns with whatever type of whatever type of seller account that you're running. We typically recommend just duplicating all of your marketing campaigns. Probably everyone knows this, but for Amazon marketing services and sponsored product type campaigns, the ads run based on who's winning the buy box. So if you have a seller account and a retail account and you duplicate your marketing campaigns, you can, whichever one will run depending on who's winning the buy box. So this makes it seem really simple, but I would say in that we spend a lot of time with manufacturers in that strategy phase, figuring out what fulfillment model is right for them, figuring out how their what their capabilities are, there's kind of like, what do you want to do and what can you do? And sometimes we have to take baby steps to get to really the final outcome. And then just lastly, we'll cover a few common pitfalls. And I think I'm noticing a lot of questions coming in, so I want to make sure to leave some time for those. So tax and accounting is kind of the most common pitfall. The larger the manufacturer, the harder this seems to be, is kind of figuring out how you're going to account for seller inventory. Other pitfalls include not really having a good grasp on the item level economics. So being surprised by the item level economics, and that information is available to manufacturers through Amazon's free tool. And it's not challenging to run a larger model than that. So that we tend to spend a lot of time with our clients on that particular item. Warehouse challenges, as I mentioned, a manufacturer who's accustomed to shipping truckloads of product now having to ship kind of small quantities all over the United States can be, if that's the approach, if you're going with FBA, can be challenging. Another pitfall we see is Amazon offers, as for seller accounts specifically, Amazon offers a lot of pricing tools. So not taking advantage of those and just pricing the products too high and not capturing any sales. And then the biggest pitfall probably is not staying in Amazon's good graces. So kind of going against one of the policies or selling on Amazon in a way that they're not, they're not endorsing, kind of going back to the what's okay, what's not okay slide. So just to wrap up, selling hybrid on Amazon can definitely allow you to capture more sales as a manufacturer through the hybrid seller account, as well as through your retail business, because it makes the forecast better. It's really important to come up with some counter strategies to Amazon, selling directly to Amazon's retail business and still have a presence on the platform. And then lastly, making sure to spend a lot of time in that planning stage and exploring your options and understanding the different fulfillment models and which one is right for you. So with that, we can take any questions, and I will go ahead and stop the share in case Mark wants to take any questions.
Well, thanks, Andrea. We do have a number of questions, quite a few in our Q&A area. It looks like, given the time, we may have time to get to most of these. So let's go ahead and start with Lisa. Lisa's saying, I'm not understanding the backup inventory support piece.
Yeah.
Could that be explained again?
Yeah. So let's say you're launching a new cereal on Amazon, and you set it up with your retail buyer, and Amazon, Amazon orders a little bit of the product, but you've got like a national marketing campaign about to run on this thing, and you've got it in every brick and mortar store who's ordered pallets of it. And Amazon, has only ordered, I don't know, a small quantity, which is pretty typical for new item launches. You're going to run out right away, and all that ad spend that you've engaged in across all of your channels is going to be somewhat wasted, at least on Amazon. So having a backup inventory source for that product is going to be important, and you can do that through a number of different means. You can open a seller account and you can become an FBA seller. You can ship it yourself to customers through a seller account. There's like a merchant filled Prime program where you can ship it from your warehouse with the Prime badge, or you could drop ship it to consumers. Whatever it is, having another way to have inventory available for that launch would be critical.
Karen is asking, what is the penalty if you're caught trying to manipulate price via 3P account?
They'll probably shut off your seller account. That's usually what we see happen. You might get a slap on the wrist. It depends on if you're doing it intentionally or you don't understand what you're doing, which is actually really common. It's hard to understand how the buy box works on Amazon and how to manage that seller account. So sometimes that happens inadvertently. Typically, the Amazon will approach the manufacturer depending on the tone and quality of the relationship. They may just talk to you, or they will turn off the seller account altogether.
Brooke is saying or asking, here's a scenario: private label or exclusive product for Walmart, purposefully not on Amazon.
Oh, I think that's okay. That hasn't been a problem with any of our clients. I mean, I think Amazon's aware that there's private label that manufacturers make for other retailers, and they wouldn't expect to get that on their own platform, although they'll always ask for it. But I don't think that would be a violation of policy.
Cody is asking, are there any good solutions to make performance of outside 3P sellers on the Amazon platform?
Performance of outside 3P sellers. Can you read the question again?
Are there any good solutions to measure performance of outside 3P sellers on the Amazon platform?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you're selling some product to a third-party seller who's selling it on Amazon, and you want to understand that seller's performance. I mean, there's some, we should connect offline. There's a few free tools you can use that might help you guesstimate how they're performing. And then you should always, if it's someone you're working with and you're trying to grow them, it's worth talking to them about their marketing strategies and getting some more transparency there. Most sellers that sell product for manufacturers that we work with are willing to provide some transparency in some of that reporting.
Chris is asking, if you have a catalog in 1P that is unprofitable, can you begin selling on FBA to raise prices to a profitable level? What are your options here as a brand?
If Amazon's crapped out your assortment and you want to sell it as a third-party seller, you can put it in FBA. Usually if it's crap on Amazon, if Amazon can't ship it to the consumer profitably at that price, you won't be able to either. So that's probably why you're asking, can you raise the price? You can certainly raise the price. You may not get the buy box. Amazon does some work to understand how competitors are pricing product. So let's use the cereal example. Let's say the cereal is $2.50 or $5 or something, and that's crap. And so you say, well, maybe I'll sell it for $7. If Walmart's still at $5 online, Amazon won't show that buy box for your $7.50 offer or whatever. They'll just suppress it. So you'll still capture some sales. Some consumers go through and look at that next page and say, look, let's see who else is selling this. You'll still capture some sales, but it won't be equal sales to what you had before.
Tara is asking, newer with Amazon, can you explain what a dirty channel means? Is that too many sellers?
Yeah, kind of. Well, it doesn't always have to do with the quantity of sellers. It has to do with the pricing. So if you have a product that you're trying to maintain a certain price on, because below that it's unprofitable for Amazon or whatever, and you're selling the product to a lot of people and they are all reselling it on Amazon. And typically what we mean by dirty channel is a great classic example is you sell to a distributor and that distributor gets some kind of back-end funding or incentives or whatever that give them a higher profit margin than Amazon, and then they resell the product on Amazon at a lower price. So they're driving down the pricing in the marketplace. That's typically what's referred to as a dirty channel.
Stacy is asking, can retail team influence buy box for 3P seller?
Unfortunately, they can't. It's automated, and you probably wouldn't want them to be able to do that. It's a lot of human intervention on a pretty important part of the page.
We have time, I think, for a couple more questions.
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of becoming a seller on 3P versus partnering with an existing 3P seller?
Yeah, that's a great question, because as Amazon's getting stricter about sellers having or direct brands having seller accounts, that's coming up more and more. So the benefits are it's less transparent to Amazon, and you're able to work with someone who already has some established credibility in that category as a seller. So the things that matter for winning the buy box, there are a lot of things that matter, but some of them are the reviews that seller has received, and that actual seller star rating. It's separate from product rating, and their performance metrics. And so you can work with someone who has really strong performance. They're going to have a higher likelihood of winning the buy box, which means more sales for you. It also allows you to kind of like put some distance between you and that seller account from your relationship with Amazon, because it's within your right to sell products to other sellers, to resellers. The drawbacks of it are, I think the biggest drawback is you don't really like control their inventory. They decide how much they're going to buy or the price. But if you've got a good relationship and kind of what you're getting into, maybe that's okay. The other drawback is that you can't run marketing programs on those products, especially search marketing, and search marketing is absolutely critical for success right now. And you won't be able to run search marketing because you won't have the buy box. The seller will have to run the search marketing. And we've seen it's been a real mixed bag from what we've seen as to the seller's willingness to invest in some of the manufacturer's products. And you particularly have to ask yourself the question, if the seller sells competing products to yours, how are they going to decide for some keyword term like breakfast cereal, which product they're going to place their bets on and surface for that term. So you lose some control over marketing. That being said, we have still seen a lot of manufacturers drive really successful businesses only through resellers on Amazon, through strong partnership and transparency and reporting.
Time for one more question. Tim is asking, what are some of the free tools for measuring 3P that you're speaking about?
Yeah, maybe, is there a way to like post? I can provide some links after, Mark, and maybe there's a way to post them or something, or I can put them, we can figure out somewhere that I can put them, but I have a few that are just free widgets that go in your browser and third-party tools that might help you get like a sense of size
Sure.
and performance.
Sure. So if you want to send those to me, I'd be happy to send those out. But at the same time, Andrea, let's hope that some of our viewers took down some of our email addresses, or I think you had your email address up on on one of the slides.
Absolutely, and people are always welcome to contact me on LinkedIn too.
Great. Well, good. This concludes our Infocast. Thank you for your time today, Andrea. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
If this is your first time experiencing a GMDC Infocast, I want to make sure that you're aware that this session and all previous Infocast events can be viewed on the Archive tab on gmdcconnect.org, along with a schedule to register for future Infocasts. I encourage you to get involved with GMDC and become a GMDC member. Today's Infocast is a small sample of what members have access to. GMDC is a business ecosystem that helps you connect, collaborate, create, and enable commerce in both the general merchandise and health, beauty, wellness industry. For more information, please contact me at markm@gmdc.org, and I'd love to help you find opportunities to get your company exposed to the executives and decision makers that can change your business. Thanks for joining us today. We hope the rest of your week is as productive as this last hour has been. Take care.